At a fancy antique shop, one of the attendants accidentally dropped a beautiful trinket box, chipping one of its corners. She quickly wrapped it up after being told that their most important customer of the day was about to arrive, Lady Teru Konyukira. The Kanekira family was famous for its long and respected history, music, and Lady Teru carried herself with so much elegance that one serious look from her was enough to make anyone stand up a little straighter. The staff had heard she was incredibly strict, so everyone nervously lined up, terrified of making even the smallest mistake. When the doors opened, no one even dared to look up. But instead of acting cold and demanding, Lady Teru simply reminded her daughters to stay together and make sure Mia didn't wander off. The nervous atmosphere instantly disappeared as the music attendants rushed over, eager to help. It looked less like customer service and more like a friendly competition to see who could spoil the Kakura family the most. However, Lady Teru wasn't shopping for herself. She had come to buy necessities music for her newest daughter, Mia. The moment they entered the store, Arisa and Mika threw off their cloaks like two professional shoppers preparing for battle. Both were determined to find the best gifts for their little sister. Meanwhile, Mia stood there with shaky hands, overwhelmed by how huge and beautiful the store was. Wanting to cheer her up, Mika gave Mia a lip rouge she had been saving her allowance to buy. Not to be outdone, Orisa proudly gifted her a boxwood comb that would keep her hair shiny. Monica couldn't help wondering how Orisa could afford something so nice when she usually spent all her allowance on snacks. As it turned out, Orisa earned extra money by helping with chores around the house. Smart move. Before long, their shopping basket was overflowing. Lady Teru smiled, but reminded the girls that while it was wonderful to spoil Mia, she also needed to choose something for herself. After carefully looking around, Mia picked the chip trinket box. It wasn't the prettiest item in the shop, but the iris flowers painted on it reminded her of her late mother. She wanted to use it as a treasure box to keep all the gifts her sisters gave her. The shop owner quickly offered a brand new mother-of-pearl box instead, but Lady Teru gently refused. This was the very first thing Mia had ever chosen for herself, and as her new mother, she wanted to make that wish come true. Since the corner was broken, she decided they would repair it using kintsugi, the traditional art of fixing broken pottery with lacquer, proving that even broken things can become more beautiful. Back at the Kakura mansion, Mia's sisters excitedly told her it was time to meet the family's bodyguard. Hearing that, Mia imagined a huge, intimidating warrior standing guard against thieves. But when the doors opened, the mighty bodyguard turned out to be Gungia, a fluffy little dog. Mia instantly melted from the cuteness overload and scooped him into a big hug. Monica joked that this was the kind of moment that deserved a 100 photos, but sadly, cameras back then were about the size of a small suitcase. Watching Mia happily cuddle the fluffy pup, everyone agreed it was almost too adorable to handle. Then the headum everyone called him Guncho because he had never barked. They had always assumed he was simply the most well-behaved dog in the world until Mika casually revealed that he actually couldn't bark. On a rainy day, the family found Gungia collapsed outside the mansion. He wasn't hurt, so they guessed he had been through something emotionally upsetting. Seeing him like that reminded Mia of her own childhood before she was even 10 years old. She had cared for her sick mother while also working to earn money. Yasu felt heartbroken that such a young girl had to live through so much. Mia quietly wondered if that made her a pitiful child. Mika immediately shook her head. Gungia wasn't pitiful just because he had suffered. He had a loving family now, and so did Mia. Hearing those words brought a small but genuine smile to her face. Just then, Lady Teru walked in and asked why everyone was chatting instead of taking Gungia for his daily walk. A pet wasn't just there to look cute. It was their responsibility to care for him properly. If they waited too long, they'd miss the perfect time for his walk and his chance to socialize with other dogs. At the dog park, Gungia happily played with his furry friends while Mia joined in. The whole scene was so adorable that it deserved a million photos. Unfortunately, instant cameras hadn't been invented yet, so everyone just had to enjoy the moment the old-fashioned way. The next day, Mia wandered into the mansion's beautiful garden and found Gungia with the head maid, Ngo. Since Ngo needed to prepare lunch, she tried taking the fluffy bodyguard back inside, but he stubbornly refused to move. So Mia volunteered to take him instead, and the two set off on another little adventure around the estate. Their first stop was Mika, who was completely absorbed in a book. Normally, she looked calm and dignified music, but whenever she read, she looked surprisingly childlike. As a maid served afternoon tea, Mika noticed that one of the buttons on the maid's sleeve was hanging music by a thread. The frightened maid quickly apologized, expecting a scolding. Instead, Mika calmly snipped off the loose button with a pair of scissors and simply reminded her to sew it back on later. When the maid begged her not to tell the head maid, Mika dismissed the idea. If the maid got fired, who would bring her afternoon tea? Beneath Mika's serious expression was someone who quietly cared about everyone around her. Mia admired her eldest sister even more. As Mia continued exploring, she found Arisa digging through the flower beds, while several gardeners desperately tried to stop her. They insisted gardening was their job, but Arisa wasn't having it. With a smile that was somehow both sweet and slightly terrifying, she declared that if she wanted to grow beautiful flowers, she needed to learn everything about them herself. She eagerly asked the gardener's music to teach her. Besides gardening, Arisa was also talented at tea ceremonies and dancing, and Mia realized none of those skills came naturally. They were all earned through hard work. When someone suggested asking Mika for help, Arisa immediately refused, insisting she could do it herself. Even though the sisters clearly cared about each other, they somehow managed to turn everything into a competition. Mia wished they argued a little less, but deep down she could tell they were much closer than they let on. Back inside the mansion, Mia saw Nigo scolding a maid named Mitsuo after she accidentally knocked over a bucket of water. When Lady Teru arrived, Go tried to take the blame herself, but Teru saw right through the excuse. Instead of making a big deal out of it, she simply told the maids to change into dry clothes before they caught a cold. A wet floor wasn't worth turning into a disaster. She also remembered that Mitsuo was supposed to leave work early to visit her mother that day, which explained why she had been so distracted since the daisies in the garden were blooming beautifully. Lady Teru told her to take some flowers to her mother as well. Mia couldn't believe a noble lady would show such kindness to a servant. At her old workplace, something like that would have been unthinkable. Lady Teru could be strict, but she was also warm, playful, and thoughtful. To Mia, she truly felt like a ray of sunshine. Every day in the Kakura household brought another surprise. Mia couldn't help wondering if by living with this family, she might become someone just as kind one day. Later at lunchtime, Orisa and Miko went looking for her, but found Lady Teru quietly standing outside a room. She gently motioned for them to stay silent. Inside, Mia had fallen asleep while cuddling Gungia, smiling at the heartwarming sight. The family quietly covered her with a warm blanket and let her rest. Later, Mia learned about the Satsuban tradition where people throw beans to chase away bad luck. She wanted to wear the Oni mask, but her family wouldn't allow it. When Mia admitted she was afraid of hurting someone because years of hard labor had made her unusually strong, Lady Teru reminded her that strength isn't just for hurting people. It can also protect the ones you love. To prove her point, Lady Teru put on the Oni mask herself and encouraged Mia to throw the beans without holding back. During the ceremony, Mia threw the beans with all her strength, knocking the Oni mask clean off Lady Teru's face. Lady Teru laughed and praised her perfect throw, joking that even sickness would run away after that. Later, she discovered Ngo had secretly fired another beam through a small tube because her protective instincts wouldn't let her watch Lady Teru get hit, even during a harmless tradition. Touched by her loyalty, Lady Teru thanked Nego, and together they hoped for another healthy year for the entire family.